Hoskinson broadcasting live from hot, humid Florida. I'm actually in Miami right now. I figured I'd take a nice vacation, a little break for a week, and it's been a really interesting weekend, and I'll tell you guys about it later. But today's video is a video for a special guest, and that is Mark Cuban. I noticed over Twitter he's asking some questions about Cardano, and we always love it when people are curious about the ecosystem. First off, if you go to cardano.org, it can actually take you through a funnel and show you all kinds of different things about who we are, what we're doing, and the purpose of the project. Cardano started as a long arc research and development project. The point of Cardano was to ask, where do we need to go? What do we need to do to have an ecosystem with 1 billion people, not an ecosystem with 1 million, and be able to sustainably provide a financial operating system for them. Furthermore, what collections of technologies need to be brought together to enable that ecosystem to actually do that at a reasonable cost for the bottom 2 billion people. So it wasn't just a project about how do you write a smart contract system or how do you write a blockchain. It was also an academic project and a multidiscipline project. So there was game theoretic research, programming language research, identity management research. And now we're finally turning on all the components of the system. Last year, we achieved the first sustainable proof of stake system. And that's what Ethereum is attempting to do at the moment with Ethereum 2 and has failed. And many of the third generation systems are either inspired by or equivalent to what we've done. So when you look at Polkadot or Algorand or all of these other things. In terms of the smart contracts, that's really been the big thing this year, along with the awakening of Catalyst and governance. And what we decided to do is rebuild the entire smart contract model. One, because it's not secure. And you can see that with billions of dollars of customer funds that have been lost because of insecure hacked apps. Two, it's not sustainable. Cost predictability, the high gas fees that applications have. You're a consumer experience guy. We're a consumer experience guy. You tell me, is it sustainable to have an application where the transaction fee costs more than the amount of value being moved? Persons moving $10 of value costs $900 to move that. That's where the market standard Ethereum is currently at. And it's a non-trivial thing to move away from that without admitting some degree of centralization, which means the entire model needs to be rebuilt. Second, there are only 80,000 Solidity developers, and there are 25 million developers throughout the world who are .NET developers and Java developers and so forth. So how do we bring those people in? And how do we get them to use their tools and techniques and languages that they've written collectively trillions of dollars worth of software throughout the last 40 years into the Cardano ecosystem? So we had to rebuild that entire model and figure that out. And we brought some of the best people in the world, people who write programming languages for a living, like Philip Wadler and others who created the Haskell programming language and worked on most modern languages throughout the last 30 years. And now we're turning that system on with an aim to not only have it in place this year, but also port over lots of great dApps that exist in Ethereum through something called the ERC20 converter. Last year, only 31% of new dApps were produced on Ethereum. 69% were not. So being the colossal network effect monster, the reality is that they're losing their steam. And not only that, most app developers, when polled, especially in the top 50, top 100, either have plans to be multi-chain or have already decided to start migrating to different chains because of cost and quality concerns while being on Ethereum. The first to admit this is Ethereum itself, which is why they're trying to rebuild their model for Ethereum 2. And that's like moving a cruise ship. So it's a dying monopoly in that respect, giving us plenty of time to do that. Despite the fact that we still haven't turned on smart contracts for the system, there's already actually dozens of DeFi applications that have come out, want to move into our ecosystem, or new ones that are being found in our ecosystem, which has well more than 1 million people just in the traditional Western world. And they're very evangelistic. They've named their vineyards in Napa Valley, Cardano, there's Cardano wine. They've renamed hotels in Spain and actually accept payments. So what can you do with your ADA today? You can issue assets, you can buy wine, you can stay at hotels, more than 50,000 locations. Billions of dollars worth of ADA is moving on a daily basis, changing hands between people. Unlike Ethereum, you can vote with it because there's a voting framework to distribute over $1 billion worth of venture capital for a growth engine for our ecosystem. And there's already been, I think, 4 or 5 funding rounds for that. Every time a round comes in, 20 to 40 ventures get funded, more on the way. And then we have a whole bunch of other things. These guys are building highways, but they have cars without license plates driving on their highways. So all your transactions that are occurring, they don't have any notion of identity. We have that. These deals we do in Ethiopia, like the 5 million new customers we brought into the cryptocurrency space, we brought them in by giving them identities called DIDs, decentralized identifiers. This is going to become one of the most important and relevant things for dApps over the next 5 or 10 years, because compliance is coming. As you're aware, there's things like anti-money laundering and know your customer and so forth. It's not about just getting the application to market. It's about understanding that this application may cover a regulated activity. So what tools exist in the toolbox to actually allow you to handle that regulated activity in a mostly automated way? These are the kinds of things we think about in the Cardano ecosystem. This is who we are and what we do, and we build it on open source foundations, patent-free, over 105 academic papers, I think around 10,000 plus citations. They go through the standard peer review process. If you're a regular computer scientist, whatever you do in cryptography or machine learning, go through no corners cut, no exceptions. So you know that it's being built with great protocols, and we built it for the future. And given the fact that all the dApps are not sticky, they're fluid, it doesn't really matter if you launch your smart contracts today or 5 years ago. The really successful applications are mercenary. They're going to move over. Just like if you have an application you're running on an Amazon and somebody else like Rackspace comes to you and wants to give you a better deal, you do that because you're not loyal to those providers. They're infrastructure providers. And that's the point. And that's why the third generation, like Binance Chain, for example, has gotten so much success in getting applications to migrate so quickly. So it's a big ecosystem. It's a complicated topic. It's not Doge. It's not easy. It's not just one thing. It's a vision and a pursuit of saying, how do you build something where power floats to the bottom? It stays decentralized as you go from millions to billions of users. It has predictable cost as things run on it. And also you're able to run the things that you care about on it, whether that be CryptoKitties, or it be a DEX, or it be a stable coin. And there's a lot of amazing education like the Plutus Pioneers program. As I mentioned, we're just about to turn on smart contracts here as an ecosystem. It's happening the second half of 2021. And every 6 to 8 weeks, the governance system gets more evolved. And we've just recently fully decentralized the entire network, beating Ethereum to the transition to proof of stake and kind of guiding the way about how to run a global scale network for about 6 gigawatts of power, unlike what Bitcoin runs on, which is 113 terawatts of electricity. So it's my life's work, and I'd love to have you out at a ranch. Got some mini donkeys and some sweet tea and other things, and it's good to talk about these because it's not just a product, it's an ecosystem, and there are many products within that ecosystem, some of which are highly investable, some of which are just pure technology, and they're not quite investable, and they're more of the dominion of scientific inquiry or open source infrastructure. And it's not something to be taken lightly. One final thing. We are one of the few, if not only, major ventures in the cryptocurrency space that has native access to Africa. And this is my passion. I don't know where your passions lie, but something I wake up every day and think about. And right there is where I believe DeFi is going. You know, here in America, it's easy for us to get a loan. It's very cheap for me to get credit. I know it's cheap for you too. But when you live in Ghana, or you live in Nigeria, or you live in Ethiopia, some people there, they have to spend 85% interest to get a loan under $100. And that's a moral failing of the global order and the global system. That's got to stop. And that's not because of racism or evil banks or things like that. It's systems. And the whole point of why we build what we build, why we have an identity stack, and why we're making sure we have an easy path to get great DeFi applications and run them at a very low cost, why we have these democratic elements and we can scale the system to billions of users, is that our intention is to onboard users in those jurisdictions. Those deals, they take years to do. Ethiopia took us over 4 years to negotiate during a civil war. And despite that, and despite it being listed as in the bottom 5% of countries of ease of doing business, We were able to close a deal for 5 million people that's going to grow to over 20 million people, which is one of the largest, if not largest, single deals in our industry. And we did that in giving each and every one of their K through 12 people in the country identity, which will eventually give them economic identity. A payment system will be connected to that. Credit systems will be connected to that. And the financial services that they use that are Cardano enabled will be at the lowest possible cost anybody can provide with no middleman. And that's not exclusive. That's going to go to Kenya. That's going to go to Ghana. That's going to go all across Africa, because we have a Pan-African view. And we're very committed and dedicated people. And what makes Cardano really unique and special is not people at the top, it's people at the bottom. When you have 1 million people that wake up every day and they believe in something, it's not a product to them. It's not just a fun thing. It's not a meme. It's a lifestyle, to the extent that they're willing to tattoo their body with our logo. That's something very special. And there's real value there that doesn't go away. And that's an army. And we'll wake up and it'll be 5 million. We'll wake up and it'll be 10 million and so forth. So love to have a real conversation about it. I don't think Twitter's the place people go to discuss these types of things. It's entertainment, but it's not real value. And there's a lot of nuance to these conversations, which is why I invited you to my ranch. I have a ranch in Wyoming and a farm in Colorado. If you or your family are ever out, if anything, just want to get dinner, come on by and we'll have a chat. In any event, it's nice to see that you are interested, and from time to time, drop by, especially after smart contracts come out. I think there's a lot that's going to pleasantly surprise the industry. And each year, we just keep growing. So if not this year, maybe next year, maybe the year after, at some point, you'll build something. And we love work with you on Lazy. I think there's some MOU discussions that are there for NFTs, because you could already do NFTs on Cardano, and everybody who's done them has done very well. Although some, I think, are like the Hoskinsons, for example, are probably a little too close to trademark infringement for my taste. Until next time, thank you all for listening, especially you, Mark, if you did, and have a wonderful day. Cheers.